The outer night that covers me black as the pit from pole to pole. I think whatever dark there may be for my uncomfortable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the shadow of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me, unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
YouTube, how are we? I hope we're good. So we have just finished up a not so inspiring session at this stage of the game. So a little bit of a montage from Adam. Felt good. We're at a stage now where we're approaching 7 days out. So the peak week, as they call it. So this video is really to run through my plan of attack and how I'm approaching it. And so we will dive straight in. So first and foremost, when it comes to the peaking process, it gets absolutely abused, and it's not the case. It's so simple, but for some reason people try to do all these crazy things in the build up, you know, introduce foods that you haven't had all prep, and you know, manipulate, and things like diuretics, which for like 99.99% of cases just isn't required as well. So this is giving you guys a transparent idea of what's going down. Standpoint. So my current PD stack is 360 mg of test, which I recently moved down from 450. Reason being is from an estrogen point of view. So when we take testosterone, our estrogen is going to elevate, unless you've got a lot of DHT derivatives in, but even then you still run the risk of high estrogen. Unfortunately, we don't want high estrogen in a prep environment towards the end because you're going to hold on to water. So I took some Aromasin 2 weeks ago to assess the look, and I looked a lot drier, which tells me that my estrogen was a little bit high. So off the back of that, I reduced my testosterone. My estrogen will come down a little bit, but I have got Aromasin on hand if I still feel like I'm a little bit watery, and I will most likely use it to err on the side of caution. But AIs we don't really want to use, but needs must. So then we've got Mastron, which is my DHT derivative of choice. So for this week now, 1 and 3 weeks out, it's going up to 1200 milligrams. Personal envelope to push. I'm intrigued to see what look that brings at that dose and if it yields a better look or not. Basically, beforehand it was at 1000. So then we've got Tren in there at 250 milligrams. Again, this is me pushing the envelope a little bit. My personal choice. It's going to help me retain the tissue. I've lost 15 kilos in about 7 weeks, so that's there preserving it. Does bring a cosmetic look as well, of course. Then we've got the GH, which has been at 4.5 IUs fasted. So I'll pull that out at 7 days out alongside your Himbine. Reason being, water retention. Those two things will hold water onto the physique. So any physique updates you see at the moment is me with peak inflammation from daily cardio with those elements in there as well. So then we have clenbuterol in there, which as of last week was 120 mcg. Fat burner, it's working, right? So then we have the orals, which have been put into place about a week ago. Again, solely for the cosmetic look that they bring. My two of choice being Anavar and Halo. So going into the peak week, Anavar will be at 50 mg, Halo will be at 10. Let's get a little bit closer, a couple of days out, I'll move it up to 20. Again, this is not safe, this is not healthy, this is me being transparent, all right? And also consider I've been assisted for a long time. I'm also 92 kilos and shredded, so it's all very relative, all right? So from a drug point of view, that's where we're at, that's where we're going. So now we're on to the food and the water the movement manipulations. So I'm going with what's called a backload structure to my peak. So that means I'm essentially building up my food towards the back end of the peak week. So essentially from now up until 2 days out to 3 days out, it's business as usual. There will be no change there in terms of my food intake. The thing that starts to change at 4 days out is I'll reduce my cardio by 30%. So 4 days out, cardio reduced to 30%, by 30%. At 3 days out, I'll reduce it again. Food plan remains the same. So I'm burning less calories and less glycogen. So I'm going to start to get an idea of how I look in a little bit more of a surplus or less of a deficit. Now what's going to begin to hopefully take effect is inflammation is going to start to reduce, but ultimately I'm still digging away probably in a deficit so that little last bit of body fat to come off. So then water remains the same, sodium remains the same, everything at this point is ticking along nicely. I have 5 to 6 grams of pink salt, 5 to 6 grams low salt, so sodium, potassium, and 6 to 7 litres of water a day. Now, the thing is water intake, it sounds like a lot, but your body has an amazing way of counterbalancing water intake. So if you're consistent with your water intake, you will not go for a piss every 2 minutes. It will become consistent, the way the body processes that water. So it's so important to get that right, because as soon as you start messing up that consistent intake, the body won't know whether to hold water or release water. So it's really important to know your salt intake and your water intake, especially in your peak week. So we're at 2 days out now, right? So I've come away, my cardio at this point is now done, so 2 days out, no cardio. And now I start to put the carbs in. So by this point, hopefully in prep, you've had a few refeeds so you can gauge how you look and you can assess, do you like the look? Are you still flat? So I have that information there. And for me, I'll be going with most likely a 700 gram carb day on day 2. I'll then train, I'll assess my look. I'll then assess how I look in the evening to see if I've burnt the glycogen and I'm flat again, or if I'm still full. If I'm still full, then I know the next day I need to be mindful that if I go again with that, I may spill over or may even go into a little bit of surplus. So everything remains the same. Now, because I have a little bit more carbs going in, I'll increase my salt by 1 gram to allocate for that carbs, along with 1 more litre of water. So now we're at 1 day out, I've woken up. Hopefully at this point the goal would be to be still a little bit flat, so I know I've got a little bit more room to put food in at 1 day out. Now I'm going to be on stage at 1 p.m. and I've been training at pretty much 1 p.m, so it's perfect. So the mission for me then is exactly the same. Like I said, hopefully the same amount of carbs 2 days in a row, but maybe a little bit less. Wake up show day, assess the look, assess my pictures, and get an idea of which look did I prefer out of those, and then mimic that going into it. The only thing that we will do in terms of food with that is on the show day, I'll cut my protein by half and then allocate that if I need to with more carbs. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to considerations to make, the only thing that I'll look to do just to really enhance the pump and spike my blood pressure up to get more of a pump is about an hour before I'll have a teaspoon of sodium, which should spike everything, get everything going, and then we get on stage. So it's that simple. It's really only 2 days out. You bump your food up, bump the water up, assess, repeat, and then you get on there and see how you go. And hopefully it all goes to plan. So that is the backloading process. That is the drug update. I hope you found that interesting. Give you guys a bit more of an insight and a transparent look of the process. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to give it a little like, a little comment, all the good stuff. See you soon.